I do not have any legal rights to my son, Danny. This is just a messed up situation. I never wanted kids. I met a woman who felt the same until we got pregnant. 3 kinds of birth control failed. I have since gotten snipped. I agreed to sign away my parental rights and pay child support until her partner adopted him, whomever that might be in the fullness of time. My parents insisted on being involved in his life. I was okay with it. He's a good kid most of the time. Unfortunately, life, or in this case, death, happens. My ex passed away. She has no family and she left Danny with my parents when he was a tween. My parents are old and a huge reason why I never wanted a kid. Danny's mom was an okay parent, but pretty lenient. Going from that to my parents' perfectly curated house must have been a shock. He was okay for a while. He's in counseling. He's mid-teens now, and as much of a pain in the butt as you can imagine a teen boy to be. 6 months ago, my parents threw him to the streets. They said he'd be going to military school if I didn't take him. I hated military school, so I took him in. All legal. My parents are his legal guardians, but I'm letting him live with me and trying to socialize him. He doesn't have it. He's trashed my home a couple of times. He refuses to do his chores or his schoolwork. He's just being a moron. I've been going to counseling with him for 6 months, and it hasn't helped. I sat him down and told him flat out that if I have to deal with him wrecking my stuff, not cleaning up after himself, or not doing his homework, I was going to talk to my parents and see if perhaps being under professional care would help with his behavior. He said I was an idiot and never a father, so why am I trying now? To be honest, I'm trying because I loved his mom. I know she grew up in foster care and would hate knowing that's where he ended up. Am I the idiot for telling my kid that if he can't behave, I'll send him to military school? You are the idiot. OMG, this poor kid. He knows you never wanted him to the point that you signed away your rights. He lost the only real parent he ever knew as a child. He then ended up with your parents, who didn't want him once the going got tough. And then he ended up with you, who he knows didn't want him, even when things were good. He's been going through nothing but abandonment and loss, and he's only a younger teen. To me, OP clearly doesn't love or want his son. That's how he feels, and you can't judge him for his feelings. It's not like he made a child on purpose and dumped him. I do feel sorry for the kid, but there should not be a case where he gets a free pass. Mainly so that even grandparents who wanted him couldn't deal with him. The kid's old enough to take responsibility for his actions. OP's doing much more than he signed up for, despite his own feelings. So I would cut him some slack. He's not the idiot. LOL, he's a mid-teen. He's a child. He's not old enough to take responsibility for his own actions for another 4 years. 2 years minimum. I get it. I'm child-free, and that's the way to be. But if I accidentally created a life and couldn't handle it before birth, I would be there because it's not their fault I messed up. You have to be patient with kids. They're monsters, but they're becoming the people they're going to be. OP, you are the idiot. He's just being a moron? Really? You're dealing with a traumatized kid who you don't like, and you expect him to behave like a non-traumatized angel? You and your parents are going to screw up this kid. Foster care? Yeah, he probably would be better off. He might find some people who actually want what's best for him. Military school? What the heck? Everyone has failed this child. Instead of threatening him, did you consider stepping up? He's dealing with grief and loss. He also knows that you don't want him. His behavior is a reflection of how he feels on the inside. My heart breaks for this kid. Counseling isn't a magic word. You have to do more. In so many ways, this is your responsibility. I, 20 female, have been dating this guy, 28, for about 7 months. I'm not a picky eater, but I am allergic to shellfish. He knows that. When deciding what to eat, I told him he could pick, and he ordered shrimp scampi for 2. I was annoyed because I couldn't eat that, and he got defensive because I told him it was his choice, and that's what he chose. I didn't think I had to specify, you can pick something for us, but we both have to be able to eat it. I thought that was implied. Why order food for someone knowing they can't eat it? But he thinks whatever means whatever, and that it's my fault. We always take turns deciding where to eat, where to order, and we often eat together, so we know what the other person likes or doesn't eat. We usually decide for ourselves like, you want to order from X place? Get me Y. But at times, we just have the other person order, like if one of us is running late or busy with something else. I was in the shower when he told me he ordered Italian, so I just yelled for him to pick something. He's aware that I can't eat shellfish, and he's aware shrimp are shellfish, and he's aware he was ordering for me as well since he got 2 portions. Am I the idiot for telling my boyfriend to order whatever he wants for dinner, then getting upset with his choice? Not the idiot, and if I were making a dinner choice and were given the option for whatever, A, I wouldn't even order anything remotely physically near shellfish, knowing it could seriously hurt you, and B, consider what you like eating. I'm a little perplexed by his choices. I could maybe get he forgot you hated pickles or ketchup and didn't have those omitted, but something that can make you sick or possibly kill you? I don't know how someone forgets that at all. This is my theory. Option number 1, he's an idiot and trying to provoke. Or option 2, he had a lapse in judgment and is saving face. He's also in his late 20s, dating someone not old enough to drink, if they're in the USA anyway. In different stages of life, the age gap always gives pause. Also, they've been dating for 7 months, so it's possible they were closer to 19 and 27 when they met. Bit of a yikes in my opinion. Honey, he didn't forget. He did it on purpose, to teach you a lesson. I'm not sure if there is a third possible explanation. And yes, he is an idiot in either of those cases. It's up to you to decide if you want to be in a relationship with a person that can put you in actual physical danger. What if it wasn't apparent that the meal had shrimp in it, but it used shrimp sauce or something instead? Would you be able to trust him with your food still? Or option number 3, he purposely ordered something she couldn't eat so that he could have both servings. Either way, this whole situation is messed up. Seriously, how did he think this would go? Did he expect you to eat it? Did he expect you not to eat it? What was his vision here? Either way, if this is a regular pattern for you, maybe slow the whole relationship down and think hard about how much more of it you want in your life. For a while now, my husband John's been getting increasingly angry over little things and is generally moody and distant. I've finally had enough and approached him about separation. This conversation led to a big blowout and him revealing the state of his finances. My husband and I have always kept our finances separate. Also, although we call each other husband and wife and had a wedding, we're not actually legally married. This was primarily for inheritance purposes because we each have older children from previous relationships. Anyway, John revealed that he basically had no savings left. All the money he had saved for retirement and for his kids' schooling was gone. Furthermore, he said it was all my fault since he used all of his savings to try and keep up with my lifestyle. There was anything crazy about bills or anything like that, and we always split it all equally. I own the house we live in outright as well, so there wasn't a mortgage payment. However, I've always liked traveling on pretty extravagant vacations. I would invite John or John and his children to join on trips, but I never made them feel like they had to come. That said, he was expected to pay for himself and his kids, except recently, he's accepted every invitation. I would also give my kids things he considered extravagant, but I considered normal, so he felt like he had to provide similar things to his own kids. John said that with all the spending to keep up, his savings dwindled very fast. I expressed that I couldn't understand how or why he would spend all he had when he knew he couldn't afford it. He said it was like keeping up with the Joneses, only worse because it was at home, so he couldn't block it out. Since I knew his job, John thinks I should have had a basic understanding of his finances and realizes this wasn't a lifestyle he could maintain. The kind thing would have been to offer to pay for the trips and other things instead of dangling them in front of his and his kids' faces. Looking back, I probably could have realized that this spending didn't make sense for his salary, but I wasn't thinking about it. I don't think it's my responsibility to keep his finances in mind here. We had agreed from the beginning to keep our finances separate, so to me, that means paying for things separately. Am I the idiot for not offering to pay for my husband and his kids and making him broke? Edit. We do not live in a state with common law marriage. Not the idiot. So he's blaming his poor decisions on you? What on earth? He couldn't use his voice to raise concerns when finances were an issue? That's on him for keeping up with the Joneses to the point that he liquidated his children's education funds. You housed him and his children rent-free. If he wasn't comfortable with your lifestyle, he should have talked to you like an adult instead of trying to keep up and sinking himself financially. John blew through his finances all on his own because his fragile ego couldn't deal with you having more money than him. I agree with this wholeheartedly. If he can complain about it now, one wonders why he couldn't say anything then. Also, the BS of trying to keep up with her? I would have said long ago that I was running out of money. Pride can be a foolish thing. There's something so cringe about an adult unable to take responsibility for their choices. She's housing him for free? I disagree. It's called a family home. She's not his landlord. Everyone's the idiot here. You sound like friends with benefits. This situation highlights the destructive impact of financial miscommunication in relationships. The failure to align expectations and understand each other's financial limits has led to a painful and avoidable situation. I think you should get divorced because you don't want to be part of each other's lives, except for inheritance purposes. You both screwed this up. Look at how many people think it's entirely appropriate to pretend that it's perfectly acceptable not to understand each other's finances as a family. It's crazy to me how many people will willingly ignore that. I completely agree. Everyone's the idiot here. They're roommates who have intimacy, I guess. Zero communication when it comes to income and expenses. Not understanding how having an inheritance plan allows them to be married is pretty important as well. It seems like an excuse to stay acquainted, really. OP, your idea that you should go on extravagant vacations while he stays home is also a major idiot move. That is not a committed relationship. It's the same with the treatment of children. You both should have communicated better. Now you're ending a relationship because you couldn't be adults about communicating. My husband and I have been married for 4 years and have a toddler son, and I have 2 teen daughters from a previous relationship. He loves them and treats them like his own. The problem is that his family never accepted my daughters as family, but it's always been low-key until this Thanksgiving. My husband's brother was transferred to England for work and recently completed the renovation of his house in Mayfair. He was telling us about his life there, and the conversation went to a mall called Harold's. He went on and on about how beautifully it was decorated for Christmas and how it was unlike anything he'd ever seen. All the nieces and nephews and a few in-laws got excited, and eventually they wanted to go. He said that they were welcome to stay at his new house, and the kids were begging their parents to go throughout Thanksgiving. Eventually, about a dozen kids got to go to England for a week during their break to stay with my brother-in-law. He offered to pay for the kids whose parents couldn't afford tickets for big families and offered to cover the cost of their stay. My daughters were not invited, which made me mad. I pulled my husband aside to remind him that we are married and part of this family too. He asked his brother if our girls could go, and his brother flat out told him that he wasn't going to take responsibility for 2 teen girls. I called out his BS and pointed to the fact that several of the kids who were going are teen girls. We argued until my husband begged me to drop it. Last night he brought up looking for flights back to his parents for Christmas, which is when I told him we were not going because of the way they treated us during Thanksgiving. We discussed it until I told him I'd reconsider if his brother apologized, but I knew his brother wouldn't. He's one of those guys who thinks he's everyone's boss and is never wrong. I know I'm right to defend my daughters, but not seeing his family for Christmas is making my husband sad. Should I give in and allow us to go? I'm only referring to Herods as heralds from now on. Thanks, OP. However, why would you want to send your teen girls on a long trip to another country with an unrelated adult male who doesn't see them as his family or his responsibility? How is that a safe or logical choice? To be crammed into a house with a bunch of people who see them as second-class citizens and no one to stand up for them? Why are you advocating for this? Even if they were invited from the beginning, you should have declined. You sound entitled. You joined the family 4 years ago. Your daughters lived more than half their lives outside of this family. You are the idiot, OP. Yes, they're family and should be treated as family, but this trip is a big thing for your brother-in-law to do. It's not like he's offered to take them all out for ice cream, except your kids. If he's not comfortable, he's not comfortable. Start your own family tradition in your own home. Holidays do not have to include extended family, as your daughters are not biologically related. I get why you said no, but there could have been some compromise on another trip maybe. If your husband needs his family during the holidays, let him go alone while you enjoy your holiday with your children and any family or friends you have. You don't need your husband to have a good time. Aw, poor husband. Your daughters get rejected by his awful family, and now it's Christmas. He can't catch a break. Would your husband be happier with you and the kids gone permanently? That's some BS, mainly from your husband since he knows his brother. He and his whole family are the idiots. I hope you and your kids have a wonderful Christmas. You are not the idiot. My 25 male family got stuck at the airport. I was able to get a room at the airport hotel, and my sister was able to get another. There aren't any other ones available, and everyone wants to stay at the airport to be close in case the situation with our flight changes. My room has 2 beds, so I offered the other one to my brother and his girlfriend, who couldn't get a room. My sister's room also has 2 beds. She and her husband have 4 kids, though, all teenagers. The hotel only has 1 rollaway bed available. So with her and her husband in 1 bed, 2 of her kids on the 2nd bed, and the 3rd kid in the rollaway, that left 1 kid without a bed. Since I otherwise had a bed, my sister thought I should share mine with my niece. I didn't want to because I don't like sharing a bed. I just don't feel comfortable with it. I think one of the kids could just sleep on the floor, but that apparently is disgusting. I won't disagree that hotel room floors are gross, but they could lay a blanket down so she's not directly on the floor. Am I the idiot for not sharing my bed in a hotel with my niece? I'm sorry, but as a parent of 2 kids, with healthy boundaries but also a warm, loving relationship, and as much as I hate being cramped in bed, why can't the parents sleep with the youngest and smallest child in bed? We still get our kids crashing from time to time during our weekend nap time. I get to complain about it, but not really. You're not the idiot. As a parent, I wouldn't ask another family member to share a bed with my daughter. It was kind of you to share a room in the first place. Being expected to share a bed is out of line. In tough times, prioritize kindness over comfort. A blanket on the floor is a small sacrifice for ensuring everyone has a bed, especially for family. No. I wouldn't be comfortable sharing a bed with my niece. Why isn't mom or dad taking the floor instead of one of the kids? They're making their kids your problem when it is definitely their problem. I wonder why any other solution wasn't put forward here. One of the boys could have been suggested to share the bed with an uncle instead of the gal. As an adult man, I wouldn't be comfortable sleeping with a teen girl in my bed, even if she was my niece. I'd volunteer for the dad to sleep in my bed, and the mom and daughter could share, if 100% necessary. But apparently that didn't occur to anyone in the family. They all expected you to pay for the room and sleep on the floor?